The countdown is on for our third annual Skift Global Forum East. Join us this November 19th and 20th in Dubai as we bring together 500 of the region's most powerful travel and tourism decision makers. With executives from companies like Emirates, Accor, Dubai Tourism, and Jumeirah in attendance, this is an event you can't afford to miss. Secure your tickets now at live.skift.com and get ready to connect and learn from the best at Skift Global Forum East.
Hello and welcome to the Skift India Travel Podcast. Joining me today is Sanya Zanpuri, the research analyst at Skift. Thank you, Sanya, for being here.
Thanks, Peden. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to join you, Peden.
Thank you so much, Sanya. Today with Sanya, just to give you, a heads up that we will be diving deep into India's tourism industry, of course, and specifically inbound tourism, because last month the Indian government has made a series of announcements on boosting inbound tourism, and starting by offering 100,000 free visas. Of course, we have to admit that inbound recovery is lagging behind, and these measures are very important. So, Sanya, let's first begin with the good things. Let's talk about the good things. India's outbound tourism is surging, right? While working on all the research reports that you do, what are some of the things that, according to you, stood out for Indian outbound?
Yeah, so the growth trajectory for India's outbound tourism has been so exciting. In the first half of this year itself, departures from international departures grew 14% in comparison to 2023. And this is double-digit growth compared to 2019. It's 12% above 2019. Indians are heading overseas, and spending is projected to be approximately 19 billion this year, which is amazing. And Indians, some of the trends are that they tend to travel sometimes off season. They look for package deals, but they are open to exploring new destinations. So, while Dubai, Saudi Arabia, they still continue to be popular destinations, but Indians are also heading to Vietnam, Japan, Malaysia. I think it's the favorable demographic, visas, ease of getting a visa, connectivity, and mainly people have the spending power, or international travel has become more affordable for the middle class Indian right now. And it's also, experience like sports events or music festivals. Indians are looking for these, and they have the money to actually follow their heart and travel for these kind of experiences.
Mhm. And the fact that Indians are traveling is also, it's also benefiting the Indian tourism industry, because, of course, there's a lot of domestic tourism as well, right? I mean, like, we are doing fantastically well when it comes to domestic tourism. But then, of course, outbound is great, domestic is great, but then inbound recovery hasn't kept pace. Now, beyond the surface, there are many underlying reasons for this gap. And Sanya, you work on a lot of research reports and you have a lot of reference on destination marketing as well. Do you think that there are any untapped opportunities for India to attract more inbound tourists?
Yeah, so like you said, Peden, inbound travel, the picture is not as rosy as it looks for domestic and outbound. Now, our country has such a great history, great diversity, and overall, it's a really great tourism product. But still, we don't see foreign tourist arrivals recovering. We're still 90% of 2019 levels. So there are multiple reasons for this, like you said, limited promotion or government cutting on promotion spending, tourism infrastructure, which is getting better, but it's also safety concerns. Now, initially through COVID, people were not traveling long haul, but then now that's not the case anymore, and India should be able to attract foreign tourists. I think that experiential travel is something that everyone's been talking about right now, and India is such a great product for it, right? There's diversity, cultural
Yes,
immersion,
I mean,
there's
like, we are the home of
adventure.
Ayurveda, right?
Exactly. There's adventure, there's food, luxury, everything that the country can offer. And there are so many different subsets to what people are looking for right now. It's a lot more fragmented. And people are, I think the main thing is people are open to exploring right now. And it's not just, everyone just doesn't want to visit traditional tourist destinations. People want to do more. Um, I think India should be promoting all kinds of experiences to tourists. This is what we did as a part of the Incredible India 2.0 campaign, right? Like we shifted from generic promotions to more creative promotions, like we were yoga, wellness, wildlife. And these were showed on television and social media everywhere. So, looking at India, it's not just spirituality or history. There's so much more that this country can offer. While this spirituality and religion has worked for some destinations like say Ayodhya, Varanasi, UP saw 10 lakh international visitors in this year. But India has so much to offer. There's something for the beach tourist, somebody looking for a great nightlife. So I think it's about promoting all of these aspects of India, and aggressive marketing campaigns have worked for so many destinations right now, like Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan. It has helped drive foreign tourists. So why not for India? Um,
Exactly. And Sania, also, when it comes to weather, of course, there are patches of India that get really hot during summers, but India is also a 365-day destination, right? I mean, like we have our hill stations, so you, people can visit India at any point in time. It's not like restricted. There are many destinations in Southeast Asia as well, which can only be visited at a certain period in time. But India is not even like that.
Exactly. I mean, you can pick and choose when you want to travel, and then you will
Mhm.
find a destination worth visiting in India. And another point that you can think of is, hosting these large scale events. I mean, we saw how well G20 across multiple cities did,
Mhm.
and World Cup, hosting the World Cup also did very well to boost tourism for the
Yeah,
country
event
across
tourism
these.
is big now, sports tourism, event tourism, just see what's happening to the Coldplay tickets or the Brian Adams concert
Exactly.
that's happening.
Exactly. I mean, you see all over social media, people are trying to get Coldplay tickets, and I mean, hotels are doing so well because of this. So, I think this is also another great opportunity that India should be looking at. Also, Peden, I think recently, because of what the unfortunate events that have happened recently, there are concerns relating to women's safety, which I think
Mhm.
it's important to address these, or promote India to make it look like, to at least show people that it is a safe destination. I mean,
Correct.
we do have these unfortunate events, but it really changes. It's about changing the perception of this country. For someone who is really particular about things like that, will not visit the country if they read
Mhm.
headlines like these.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think those
Yeah,
are.
I think absolutely. I mean, like Sanya, everything that you've talked about makes so much sense when it comes to inbound tourism and what India can do. And of course, safety concerns, we often hear about safety concerns, and then there is also something called visa complexities. And then, of course, let's not forget the 97% cut in, global promotion budget.
Mhm.
So these are all in somewhere hampering tourism. But do you think that could visa reforms or enhanced international marketing strategies, can those make a significant difference?
Yes, I think so. These are significant issues that certainly India needs to address. It's a lot about perception, right? Today, something happens in a small city in India, in a small town in India, and it makes headlines all across the world. So
Hmm.
then it is
Correct.
our responsibility to ensure that we also try and change that perception to promote India as a safe destination, right? And travelers today are looking for new places to go to, like I said. And if something works for Indians, it should, at least some of it should work for the global audience. I mean, why are other countries being able to drive so much Indian inbound? Easing visa policies have helped so many countries drive
Mhm.
tourism, right? There's Thailand, Kazakhstan, Vietnam, and
Our
even for
very own neighbor,
India.
Sri Lanka, for that matter. Sri Lanka.
Exactly. And we have seen this in the past. So, introducing e visas a few years ago, it helped us push inbound tourism. I
Absolutely.
think uh, it
Absolutely. It was
inbound
revolutionary
increasing.
at that point in time, the e-visa
Yeah.
introduction.
Exactly. I think inbound increased 6 to 9% in those years between, I think, 2014 to 2017. So we already have this example of how, easy visa processes help drive tourism. And right now, there are so many destinations that are doing so much better than pre COVID levels in terms of foreign tourist arrivals. I mean, Vietnam's up 4%, Sri Lanka is up 0.2% just in the first half of this year. And
Mhm.
what's so important is that there's so much diversity in India, and there's so many of these untouched locations that people don't even know of. Like Priya, who just joined our team, while she's been in UK all her life. She's originally from Meghalaya, and she told me that when she tells people she's from there, people don't even know where that is. This
Yeah,
needs
that
to
I think
change.
I face a similar thing. Whenever I tell them that I mean, like Darjeeling is famous in that way for the tea, but people still have a very difficult time trying to figure out whether Darjeeling is in Nepal or Bhutan.
Exactly. So, this
Unfortunate. Yeah.
really needs to change. And that part of India is just so beautiful, and it shouldn't be going unnoticed.
Yeah, I think yes, that is the northeastern part of India, and the remote parts of India, the other remote parts of India are very beautiful. But Sanya, there is one major concern as well: infrastructure. Infrastructure
Yeah.
has always been a point of contention in India's tourism debate. Of course,
Mhm.
there's a lot being done to improve the infrastructure, but
Mhm.
when you do your research reports, could you point to specific areas, whether roads, airports, or public amenities make a difference in tourism experience, and how do these gaps kind of impact the overall tourist experience, particularly for first time visitors?
Definitely. So let me give you an example. Take a first time visitor to India, and they might be so excited to explore historical sites. Like, take Taj Mahal, for example. But
Mhm.
if the journey is going to involve these long hours of, not great roads, poorly maintained roads, and not poorly maintained public amenities, while we talk so much about the destination, it is going to diminish that overall experience, and they will potentially not come back. So investing in infrastructure is definitely important to promote tourism. And India is, like you said, there is work being done on this, that regional connectivity has improved. Airports have gone from 74 to 149 in, I think, the last 9 years.
Yeah.
um,
Yes. Yeah. Or 8 9 years.
8 9 years. So, for someone who's visiting India, they might land into Delhi or Mumbai, but that's not where they're going to stay, right? They will want to visit other destinations. And it is important to have them connected by airports or good roads, railways. Uh, all of this infrastructure, it really enhances the image of India being a modern and accessible destination. Um,
Mhm.
Also, I think India is advancing in this sense that good transportation is obviously necessary for anyone to navigate a city. Like, you take auto rickshaw drivers, for example, in some city, they want you to pay any charge that they come up with. Now, in this
Mhm.
case, if we have good metros, good railways, it's easy for someone visiting for the first time to navigate the city. So there is construction going on for 150,000 kilometer highways, better rail network. The Vande Bharat was introduced. So these are all great initiatives, and they will certainly help, change the perception of India as a modern and accessible destination.
Hey there, it's Seth Borko, the head of Skift Research, and I've got a brand new report that I want to share with you today. It's called our State of Travel 2024 report. It's perhaps the single most comprehensive report we do every year, and the best part, it's free to download right now. We have 350 plus insights in this report with pretty much a chart for basically any sector. Do you need a chart on hotels? We've got that. A chart on airlines? We've got it. A chart on consumer behavior? Guess what? We've got that too. I really appreciate if you check out our State of Travel report. You can download it now by going to skift.com/state of travel with dashes between every word. So that's skift.com/state-of-travel. Download the report, check it out, and let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy.
Absolutely. I mean, like I have to say that, I travel from Chandigarh to Delhi very often, and I would rather take the Shatabdi, which is the train, the super fast train. I would rather take the Shatabdi or the Vande Bharat than, drive,
Yeah.
even fly for that matter, because it's so easy. 3.5 hours, you are in Delhi. So it's very convenient, and I think more such trains. Of course, with the Vande Bharat, they've again improved the timing as well. It's under 3 hours, so it's great that all this is happening, and very 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 correct, observation that increasing this would also it would cater to all kinds of travelers, right? I mean, even the budget travelers who come in, they might not want to pay, 3,000 rupees for a car from Chandigarh to Delhi. Would rather pay 1,200 or 1,300 rupees by train and come faster as well.
Exactly. And if the amenities are great, and there is food, or these kind of things, it changes the perception. It adds to the overall experience for any tourist.
Exactly. Also, Sanya, the Chalo India campaign was launched with a great, with great optimism earlier this year, and it's basically about telling NRIs that and now the 100,000 free visas is being facilitated through the Chalo India campaign, where NRIs will tell their friends to visit India, and they get a code, and then their friends get they have to, I think, nominate like 5 people, and then they get free visas, and then the friends can visit the country. So it's like making NRIs the brand ambassadors for India. Now, in your view, is this campaign having a real impact? Will this campaign have a real impact on increasing tourist arrivals? And what would make government-led campaigns like this more successful in attracting global attention?
Yeah. So a little off topic, but have you seen those videos on the Chalo India website?
Yes.
Yeah, so I like them. I mean, it's foreigners. They're highlighting cuisine. They're highlighting luxury, Ayurveda. Something we should be doing more aggressively, not just like putting it on a website. Because if the website is being visited by in the Indian diaspora, which is who it is for, that is, they already know about these things, right?
Correct.
So in the past, I mean, government did waive off visas for 500,000 tourists between 22 and 23 to boost tourism after COVID. Now, inbound arrivals have increased, but they have not gone back to pre-pandemic levels. They've increased 9% year on year.
I mean, like the previous pre-pandemic high was about 11 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then, you look at the source markets, they still remain the same. There's Bangladesh, US,
which is the highest. Bangladesh is
Yeah.
the highest. I mean, like this month, I think the figures that have come out in September, US has shown an incremental growth, But our let's not forget that our top source market is still Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, exactly. And these numbers are being impacted because of the political situation. Also, not to forget, even China used to be one of the top 10 source markets, and now we don't have direct flights. So, of course,
Mhm.
that has had some impact. But I think that it's important that campaigns be targeted to more specific target markets, considering interests, preferences, cultural sensitivities. Like, to give an example, Fiji and South Africa right now. India is a big target market for them at the moment. So they've eased visa policies. And Fiji is promoting the destination for honeymoon, for people going on a honeymoon, or even as a wedding destination. And they are promoting these custom tailored luxury packages with nice luxury accommodations. And there's South Africa also, who's training. There's a program where they're training Indian travel agencies to help plan itineraries for Indians, and
Mhm.
the easy visas. I just think these are a lot more targeted campaigns, and Chalo India is more of tied to the Indian diaspora, promoting travel in this country. So while it might have some impact, but if we want to see big numbers, I think we need to do be more aggressive in terms of the promotion.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you. I mean, like the Chalo India campaigns, if the campaign, if we can get the kind of tourists that they've talked about, they've tried to show Ayurveda,
Yeah.
that old couple, visiting India, South India, and then this Maharani of Manhattan
Yeah,
and stuff like
Maharani
that.
of Manhattan. Yeah.
So yeah, so those are very interesting concepts, and if we can actually get that, it would be so great for India. I mean, like,
Exactly. And
yeah, you're
you
right.
see,
The videos are really nice,
yeah,
and they've tried to cater to a diverse audience, right?
exactly. And that video just highlights how the Maharani of Manhattan video, it highlights how luxury is a feeling that
Correct.
Indian hospitality gives you. And that's such an
Mhm.
important aspect of India. Like Atiti Devo Bhava, we say it's in our blood. We need to show it out there.
Correct. Absolutely. Also, Sanya,
Yeah.
recent reports have indicated a surge in hotel investments and expanded airline seat capacity. Now, these investments will hopefully translate into higher inbound numbers. Of course, improved air connectivity is also crucial for India, considering it's got regional competitors in Asia and the Middle East. However, despite the fewer tourist numbers, India's foreign exchange earnings from tourism have
Mhm.
grown by almost 25% over 2019 levels. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing. It's like, if we don't just look at the tourism arrival numbers, but the foreign exchange earnings is growing. So what could be fueling this growth, and is it a shift in the spending habits of high value tourists, or are there other economic factors at play?
Yeah, so the increase in tourist spending definitely indicates a shift in habits, where tourists are spending more. Tourists visiting the country are spending more than pre-pandemic levels. I mean, a recent HVS report for July showed that hotel ADRs are up 31 to 33% compared to
Mhm.
2019, and 8 to 10% year on year. Now, while occupancy is slightly down, but overall hotels are doing well. They are able to sell those rooms at those prices. So I don't think so. Price is not a concern, and I think people are willing to. There is a preference for luxury experiences, premium services, like fine dining, cultural experiences, which India has an abundance of. Um, Also, I think it's the global phenomenon right now that people are prioritizing spending on travel, especially through COVID. Travel's priority has, I mean, spending on travel has become a higher priority than it used to be. And people have the money right now to spend on travel. Also, I think favorable exchange rates for foreign currencies. India is potentially more affordable maybe accommodations sometimes or airfares might not be, but otherwise to go around India is affordable, more affordable for international travelers. Like you could get a luxury room in many parts of India for the same price you would pay in, say, a mid-scale hotel room in New York, for example.
Mhm.
So these things do make a difference, and overall, yes, spending habits have changed slightly. People are more open to spending on travel. So yeah, it's great that our foreign exchange earnings numbers are doing so well.
Yeah, and also the fact is that we talked about the Chalo India campaign and the Indian
Mhm.
diaspora. So with the Indian diaspora accounting for almost 25% of foreign tourist arrivals in the country, how can their influence be further leveraged? What strategies would you suggest to engage the diaspora in actively promoting India as a destination to their networks abroad? Of course, we've seen the Chalo India campaign, but more such things, involvement of the, and then that we are huge, right? We have
Yeah.
Indians in every part of the world.
Exactly. Like there are more than I think 35 million NRIs and people of Indian origin outside. I think we're the biggest, India is the largest overseas diaspora right now. And you see Indian communities everywhere, and they do have an influence on the neighborhood. I mean, it is not difficult to find, a grocery store or a restaurant, Indian restaurant or Indian grocery store in many parts of the world. I think collaborating with Indian communities, or cultural centers, organizing events or workshops. So India has a lot of this lost art, right? I mean, I wouldn't call it lost entirely, but let me give an example. The making of those lac bangles in Rajasthan. Now, I have seen so many videos on social media, and this is mostly from foreigners visiting India who are so fascinated by it. And these things are so original to the country, which I don't think are showcased as much outside. And people are
Correct.
interested in art. It is something people appreciate, and people want to be a part of it. So this is something that can be showcased using, there could be workshops or some like cultural festivals which could showcase this kind of art forms.
Absolutely,
um,
and I think you're absolutely right. We are now the cultural events are going to start in India. With Durga Puja coming in and with Navratri and everything coming in. So it is the best time to see India in all its colors, and every part of India will be there will be celebrating some kind of a festival. So I think these are great ways to showcase. And then there is the wedding season coming in, wherein I have seen people sell these tours for be part of
yeah,
a wedding, yeah, an
be part
Indian
of
wedding, because it's an experience, right?
exactly. And it goes on for say 3 or 4 days, and there are so many different rituals, and there's so many colors, and yeah, there's so much happening. It would be great for anyone to be a part of. It's a party basically, and why wouldn't
Absolutely. I
anyone
mean, like
want to?
I'm sure most of the people have seen Anand Ambani's wedding. It's not exactly like it's not as grand as that. It doesn't run for months, but
Yeah,
yes, but something similar,
for
but not
days
so much.
only.
Maybe for a few days. But yes,
Yeah.
I mean, like, don't think that we get married for months.
Exactly. And also, I think, Peden, coming back to the diaspora point that we were talking about, a lot of times, Indians, even if they live abroad, they tend to get married in the country, right? So, a lot of them invite their friends for their weddings.
Uh-huh.
This is
Correct.
another excellent opportunity to get the friends to visit the rest of India. I mean, after a 3 or 4 day, whatever wedding festivities, they can other destinations in India can be promoted,
Correct.
and social media can play such a big part in this, that engaging content, the Indians
Absolutely.
sharing their personal experiences, and social media has you know come such a long way, and we should totally be using it
Yeah,
for
I mean, like,
us. Yeah,
just see
very
the number of influencers in India, right? Every beat has an influencer, whether it's fashion, cars,
yeah.
everything has, and the number of travel influencers.
Yeah, and there are so many. If you open YouTube, there are so many of these foreign influencers who come and try out street food in India. And sometimes, I watch it and I'm like, oh, even I haven't tried this. So
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
it's surprising for me as well. So these things are so great, and we should be using these to put Indian inbound more on, like India as a destination more on the map.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sanya, for this talk today. I really enjoyed it, and I think of course, we all want India to do well. We all want Indian inbound tourism to do well, and this discussion was basically that only. We want people to understand that inbound is a gold mine for Indian tourism, and if we are able to leverage that, I mean, it would be great for the country. Thank you so much, Sanya, for joining in.
Thank you so much, Peden. Thanks for inviting me. It's always great talking to you.
Same here, same here. And thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of fascinating takeaways from what Sanya told today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all next week. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other platform, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, or leave a positive review. Your support helps us spread the word about the Skift India Travel Podcast and ensures we can keep bringing you free content every week. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the Skift channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated whenever a new video drops. Thank you for your support.